This video is about NVivo's text search function. You might have seen that in tutorial 2 I cover content search, which enables you to search for a word within an item, so within a file, within a memo. Text search allows you to search multiple items at the same time, and you are also then able to save your searches and results. There are different ways of starting the text search function. The first one is just to go to the Explore tab and then click Text Search, which I circulated here in red. The other option is to scroll down in the left window to Searches and right-click on Queries, a new query, and then click Text Search. And then we get here. We first look at where we want to search. You can see, as I circulated here in red, the default setting is Files and Externals. If you want to search only in one or two or more specific items, then you click on Selected Items and you see this window where you can now pick those items that you want to search, and then you click OK. You can also search in folders. For example, you might have a folder with all your interview transcript. Then you click here on Selected Folders and pick the one that you want to search, and then again you click OK. As an example, I search for the word community in Files and Externals, and I'm only looking for the exact matches, so this is the default setting. I come back to that in a second, and I then run the query. And then we get the summary of our search results. As you can see, it lists the name of all items with results. It lists the folders in which these items are found, and the number of references per item, meaning how often the word community appears in these items. And finally, the coverage, that is the share in percentage of the word community in each of those items. So items with no results will also not appear here. If you double click on any of those items, then it takes you back to that item, and the search results are, as you can see here, highlighted in yellow. We are now back in the search results. We can now see the reference tab, the second tab, which lists all the different references, starting with those from the first item, then those from the second item, and the blue hyperlinks, which I circulated here in red, indicate that a new item starts. If you click on those hyperlinks, it'll take you back to the item. You can also see that it not only gives you the result, so the word we searched for, but it gives you the context as well, which I think is very helpful. You can also export this list by right-clicking and then selecting Export Results. The next tab is the Text tab. Here you will find all Word documents that you imported, and documents and memos that you created in NVivo, and you will see here at the bottom half that all the references are listed. And in the PDF tab, as the name says, we can see our results linked to PDF documents. In this case, we only have one PDF document, and in the bottom half we can see that all the references here are highlighted in white. I personally prefer to use the Reference tab instead of the Text and PDF tab, because I think the Reference tab really summarizes the information from the two other tabs. In the final tab, we get a word tree, which in very general terms depicts multiple parallel sequences of words. In our example, it shows us which words precede and follow the word community in the files and externals that we searched. And you might think that, oh, this is quite a nice illustration, or I want to add that to my chapter, I want to add that to an appendix, or maybe also I want to use that for a poster that I'm preparing at the moment. And the good news is that you can easily export that. You just need to right-click on it and then select Export. But when you use this graphic, it is then very important that you carefully think about the scope of your search. So if you, for example, search in items like transcripts, then this will also show what, for example, the moderator said. So to get meaningful results, you need to be very careful with thinking about whether it makes sense to search, for example, in cases, to search in notes, and so on. We are now back in the Summary tab, and I briefly wanted to show you another way in which we can define the scope of our search. We went with the default option, which is the exact matches. So we searched for the word community, and then in our results, we only see the instances where the word community is mentioned. So we don't see where, for example, communities are mentioned. This is not included in the results. But as you can see here, I circulated that in red. We can change that. So we can change and we can broaden our query, and ranging then from including stemmed words to then generalizations. And I recommend you to play around with that a bit and to really see how that changes your results. With our exact matches, we had for the first item 234, for the second one 5, and for the last one 1 result. And I have now just an example changed that here, including the synonyms. And if we do that and then run the query again, we can now see that there are more references for the first and second item, and to unpack this, we would now need to look through those references and see which additional words have been included, and then we can judge whether we are happy with that or not. I also recommend you to explore the options listed under Special, because these can be really helpful for your search as well. If you want to revise your query later, you need to save it. The easiest way to do that is to click on Add to Project. You can then also edit and delete it later if you want, so don't worry if you're not yet sure if this is relevant for your project or not. After you clicked Add to the project, you will get this window, and then you fill in the details and click OK. You can now see that our query is listed under Queries. If you start having several queries, it might make sense to organize them into different folders. So for that, you just right-click on Queries and then create a folder. This works in exactly the same way as creating and managing file folders, which I showed in tutorial 1. When you right-click on the query, you get a range of different options, and if you click on Query Properties, then you can edit the name and the description and so on. So this is very similar to the notes. As an alternative, you can also save the query results, but you need to be aware that this then only saves those results of your project at that moment in time. If you, for example, add new items, for example, new interview transcripts, your search results will not be automatically updated. However, if you delete items, they are usually then automatically deleted from the search results, so they are not in the project anymore. After I clicked on Save Results, we need to make a couple of decisions here. We need to choose if we want to save the results as a new code or case, or if we want to merge them with an existing code or case. And I would be very hesitant with using the second option because I think it can create a lot of confusion. So I would recommend you to go with the first one, which I do here. When we click on location, we can then select where we want to store the results. In most cases, it makes sense to just save them under query results, because if we store them as notes or cases, it might cause confusion. And then I add the name, and I was a bit lazy here, but you can add a description, and then we click OK. And we can see that now our example is here listed under query results. To open it, you just double click on it, and then you'll also see that you won't be able to amend the query because we only saved the results. But we can change the name and description of our query result. For that, we just need to right click on it and go to the result properties. As my final point of this tutorial, I just wanted to emphasize again that it is important to keep in mind that when we save our query results, this only reflects the search that we did at that moment in time. So if we later add, for example, files, they will not reflect in the saved query results. So therefore it is important to keep in mind when we did our search, when we, for example, then later come back to that. And I highlighted here in orange that there is this created on column that is very helpful. I know that some people also prefer to add to the name of the query the date of when they saved it. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I hope you found it useful. The next one will be on word frequency. You can find all the videos and also the tutorial slides on my website www.researchtales.com.